All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's currently 11:56 at night for me and I can't sleep, so let me record this banger for you guys. All right, Acnologia. I have absolutely zero plan or any direction for the story, but just before recording this, I actually just got one of the coolest ideas. And as most of us fairy tale watchers would know, assuming that you watch fairy tale, of course, you would know that Acnologia's whole thing was essentially being a walking catastrophe. The dude was aura personified in fairy tale. The dude was a natural disaster and was one of the most terrifying things ever. I still vividly remember the Tenro Island arc, watching Acnologia show up after being told by Guildarts how terrifying he was and seeing everything that the dude ended up pulling off. It required Mavis, the fairy tale guild master, the first one, to pull up and save them with that one like fairy law magic thing. I forgot what it was. It was like a fairy heart or something where everyone's desire to like stay alive preserved them and kept them alive, which honestly made no sense, but hey, plot is plot. And Acnologia was just so terrifying. And as we all know, the dude is basically hated dragons because of the past and everything that happened with him. So I figured, hey, let's give this Naruto a bit of a unique spin, but with tailed beasts, and have Naruto not exactly be Naruto's Acnologia's reincarnation per se, like I do in usual videos, where it's only in powers and possibly appearance, but let's just take things a step further and have Acnologia be the star of the video. I mean, we barely get to see any of him in fairy tale, so I think that throwing Acnologia into the world in place of Naruto and having him grow up in this world is going to be a pretty interesting video story, and since I have honestly no other ideas of how I could pull this off as a movie, let's just go with this. All right, so to begin, we're going to be starting with the Night of the Nine Tails, because when Naruto's born, he is going to be receiving all, and I do mean all of Acnologia's memories and abilities, not necessarily the full scale of it, because he's a kid and it would just make no sense for this Naruto to have the full power of Acnologia, considering he's an infant, he can't talk, and he can barely even form a consciousness. But one thing Naruto does vividly remember as he grows up is the moment that he sees a claw pierce straight through who he can know as his father, Minato and Kushina, a red-haired woman being pierced with blood oozing over and dropping on himself as a baby. He'd be crying on the ground, and no, Naruto wouldn't look like Acnologia. Actually, scratch that. Yeah, no, I don't know. Whether you want him to look like him or not is ultimately your guys' decision. I'm going to leave that up to you guys. But Naruto, as he would grow up, would always have that image plastered in his head. And Acnologia is no fool, right? So he's going to know, okay, yeah, those were clearly my parents, because who in the world else would throw their bodies on the line to save little old me? I mean, there's no reason. The last time he was alive, pretty much the entire world wanted to get rid of him. And now that he's here, two people tried protecting him. Yeah, not very much so coincidence. His body's different, the world's different. Clearly, some sort of reincarnation has gone down. As Acnologia would be inside of his house at 4 years old, he would be sitting there just wondering why in the world this is happening to him. Is what he did really so evil that he was reincarnated into such a pitiful world? He would think that their advancement in technological stuff is just stupid. And the fact that he can sense no magic or mana from anyone, it's just ludicrous. The world's power source and what they use is instead jutsus. And as Naruto roams the streets, Naruto knows exactly why he's hated. Because in the villagers' eyes, he's the tailed beast, the nine-tailed fox. But just taking a quick couple of seconds to think about it, he thinks that that is the most retarded thing ever. Because though yeah, he is a beast, technically a dragon, Naruto is not the nine-tailed fox as much as he understands from looking into the lore of this world by going to the library and reading into it, considering the fact that he'd want to understand this place better. We would get a scene of like a young Naruto at like 4 years old after being left at his own house with Hiruzen giving him barely enough money to survive, which actually would suffice for baby Naruto, because instead of going off and getting ramen and like barely making ends meet, Naruto, having the mind of an adult, would understand, okay, I have this much money and I need to make it ration an entire month, if not 2 weeks, because we're going to be saying that that's about the amount of time Hiruzen takes. So young Naruto would essentially go to the store, get himself just enough food, unperishable food that is going to be lasting him. He goes out and gets his own like clean water from the riverbank. He enjoys it. He has to admit that though this world is pitiful in comparison to his own, it does not lack beauty. So going down to the bank and getting water and getting fish is not exactly something difficult for him. And if he really has to pace himself and take things a bit far, he could definitely go hunting. At this point, Naruto doesn't possess the capability of transforming into a full-scale dragon or even shooting off a breath attack that he would be able to do by doing the Dragon Slayer breath attack. Naruto and wait, did I just repeat myself twice? I think I did. My bad, y'all. Naruto can instead kind of still have some, and I do really mean like just barely some of the previous strength. Naruto has, you know, he's very strong for his age, obviously, and he's very quick. He's also witty and all this stuff. He does not possess any magic, or he does, but it's very weak. It's like Kid Natsu level. So yeah, he's pretty strong, but his body's still adapting to the incredible power that he has inside of him, which speaking of power, doesn't actually come from the nine-tailed fox, considering the fact that from Naruto's knowledge, he's not sure he even actually possesses that thing. From what Naruto can remember from the vivid memory, he doesn't even remember seeing his father doing anything or like a seal to place on him. In fact, he vividly remembers the image of a black-haired man with red eyes, and that man would be Fugaku Uchiha, who had involvement on the night of the Nine-Tails accident, which is going to be causing major impact on the story. That means that because the Uchiha were there, they were prime witnesses to what happened, so in this timeline they don't get ostracized by the village or become like this like evil force and they're trying to like have like a coup d'etat happen. Instead, we actually have the Uchiha actually surviving in this time, which is kind of a plus for the story, right? And we're going to be having Sasuke Uchiha be the Jinchuriki for the Nine-Tails. Some of you guys might be like, okay, Xehther, calm down. But I ain't gonna lie, this is a commission, and the person who commissioned this wanted this to happen. And also, I kind of like the idea just because of some scenes that I'm thinking of cooking up in a bit. Just considering that this video is going to be ranging from anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour, depending on how long the story itself goes. Because I'm not going to like overly stretch it so that it's like way longer than it has to be just for the sake of making it an hour. I'm going to be giving you guys a quality, just like 3 a.m. motivated story. Well, obviously it's not 3 a.m., but okay, I'm rambling way too much, and I think most of that just comes from the fact that I'm so unprepared. So let me calm myself. Okay, let me get back into the story. Naruto as a kid going to the library would essentially study history books, understanding how this world functions, the economy structure, and the Hokage structure that works, as well as how shinobi life works. And after Naruto understands it, he pretty much realizes that things are kind of similar to how they were in his world. In his world, people would form guilds, and here they form villages. He thinks, okay, and they go on these missions for money. He thinks, okay, they would also go on missions or tasks for money as well, or quests, right? And so seeing that, he's like, all right, so it's not too different, but there definitely is a lot more wars than the one that I come from, which is essentially the only war that happened was the dragons that existed long ago. So with him seeing this, Naruto would think, you know, my life is crappy, right? Because he's sitting in this apartment, he doesn't have much money, he's sitting there with like a white little t-shirt, some like baggy shorts, and as he's on the ground, Naruto would actually smile thinking, you know, this life might not be what I wanted, might not be rich, might not even have parents, but I don't need them. I have the memories of a grown man and I think like one too. And it's not like Naruto's exactly going out making friends, because if Naruto was playing with little kids, having the memories and thoughts and pretty much just the brain function of an adult, it'd be kind of weird, admittedly so. So instead he kind of just keeps to himself and just trains on his own with his Dragon Slayer magic, something that Hiruzen would actually take note of when one of the times that he would go to drop off money for Naruto to survive, he would notice that Naruto wasn't even there. So, after using a jutsu to track Naruto, or not jutsu, the crystal ball, he would essentially find him training and see very impressive showings by him. Arriving at the forest, Naruto sensing his presence would start to weaken what he's doing, like making himself seem a lot weaker. And then Hiruzen seeing this, he's like, "Impressive, Naruto. I see that you're taking up working on your taijutsu. What form is that?" Naruto tells him that it's his own, that he's not exactly practicing any specific taijutsu style. And so Hiruzen hearing this would say, "Ha, good Naruto boy, I guess I understand. Well, I was coming by to give you some money, but since you are in the middle of training, what do you say you give an old man a few rounds or so, just to stretch my legs out? I promise Naruto that as the Hokage I will hold back, so have no fear. Come at me, young boy." And so Naruto smirking would say, "You sure about that, old man?" And so, Hiruzen's just smiles. He's like, "Trust me, I'm the Hokage." But as soon as Naruto would rush towards him about to feint a punch, Hiruzen would be stunned blocking it, but feeling actual recoil from it a bit, right? Then Naruto would fade as Naruto appearing right behind him with claws extended would go to slash at him and essentially rip out his guts. But before Hiruzen could even be hit by that, suddenly an adamantium bow staff would appear as he would slam Naruto as fast as he could, hitting him into a tree. Hiruzen accidentally going into full-on combat mode and sending Naruto crashing into two trees. The dude would go right through them, and as Naruto would get back up with some damage, he would smirk, saying, "Now this is interesting. I didn't think you were this strong, old man." As a little kid voice. I don't know why I did it as an adult. But anyways, Hiruzen would be stunned going, "Naruto, you are incredible. I apologize that I took things too far." He would pretty much settle himself, the staff would disappear, and he would go on to tell Naruto that he is so impressed with his training that he thinks that in a few years, once he joins the academy, he's going to be one of the best. He assumes that he's most likely even going to become Rookie of the Year at bare minimum. And Naruto hearing that would pretty much smile, thinking, "If only you knew that in a few more years, letting my body adjust to the changes, I'll be far surpassing you in strength." But he wouldn't say anything. Then Hiruzen would look at Naruto with a smile, telling him, "Oh, and here's this month's rent." He would go on to give him a check or a big amount of money, but then he'd throw a tip telling him that he's impressed with his work and to keep it up, and that once he becomes a ninja, there will be a lot more where that's coming from. So Naruto seeing that would smile, thinking to himself that, you know what, he can get used to this new life. The Hokage might be a bit of a fool, but he is a cool guy. He's kept him safe all these years, and though he's not exactly the father figure that he would have chosen, he's, well, fine, I guess. So Naruto, returning back to his training, would simply just start doing his own thing as Hiruzen would smile walking away. And it's at this point that we would have a bit of a time skip to Naruto inside of the academy, as we would zoom into a young Naruto in the back of the classroom as Iruka would call upon him, telling him, "Naruto, come down here and perform the Shadow Clone Jutsu." Naruto at this point, with a bit of a cocky attitude, would go on to say, "Look, you know I can't perform that jutsu. I can't perform any jutsu for that fact. And yet every time that this test comes around, you always have the gall to ask me to come up and perform it in front of the class. When are you going to take a hint, sensei? I don't need ninjutsu." This is when the entire class would look at him, and instead of laughing at him or making fun of him like they would have for Rock Lee, we would actually get a bit of a flashback scene where Naruto would essentially have been doing this for the very first time, and with him pretty much saying that he was flat out unable to perform any jutsus. This is when we would have Kiba, trying to be the class clown, being like, "Naruto can't perform even a basic jutsu? Ha! What a loser!" As Naruto would look at him and say, oh, I'm a loser. He just walks over towards him and says, "Alright, how about you take this loser on one-on-one? If you win, I'll be your punching bag for the rest of the year. But if you lose, you gotta let me walk all over you." And Kiba would smile, saying, "Lose to somebody who can't even perform a basic jutsu? This is gonna be a blast. Come on, Akamaru." As Naruto proceeds to stomp this man, and literally proceed to do it as well. He starts walking on Kiba's unconscious body, with Iruka essentially telling him to cut that out now and getting live with Naruto as he looks at him, giving him a death stare of get any closer and I'm straight up gonna hospitalize you. So Iruka's just like, please Naruto. And Naruto kind of just like steps off of him. And from that day forth, I'm telling you, nobody messed with Naruto again. The only person that looked at Naruto with interest and wasn't afraid of him would be Sasuke, who kind of just didn't care about Naruto because he wasn't in his way and he wasn't in Sasuke's. So the two of them kind of understood. As long as they don't mess with each other, they're cool with one another. Oh, and in case you're wondering why Naruto's actually attending the academy, even though most of the stuff he can learn here he won't have any use of, it's just due to the fact that this is the rite of passage to becoming a genin, and Naruto understands that to kind of make a new life for himself, he's probably going to want to become a shinobi, carrying out missions for the Leaf Village and essentially just going on as many as possible so he could live a comfortable lifestyle. He doesn't want to be a ninja, but hey, he's going to do what he has to do. Doesn't exactly feel like turning into a dragon and just messing with people and destroying stuff again. It's not like dragon slayers exist in this timeline. As Naruto would think that thought though, Naruto would have that image flash in his mind again, that image that always just left Naruto like thirsting for blood. The damn fox. His fists would grit as Naruto would simply look towards the front of the class, then stare at Sasuke as he feels an aura, the same one that came off of the fox that day that his parents died. Naruto staring at the back of Sasuke would then calm himself as he would think to himself that he's past all that. Whether his parents died or not doesn't matter. They're dead, he's alive, and he's starting a new life. So just get over it, right? After this, we kind of just jump cut to Naruto and Iruka as he would have asked him to essentially perform the Shadow Clone Jutsu in the future. And we pretty much just see Iruka just nodding and be like, you're right, Naruto. Or not you're right, but like being like, we'll talk after class, Naruto. With Iruka saying not to undermine his authority in front of the others like that although he is strong enough to be a shinobi, and most likely even more powerful than him, that does not give him the right to talk like that to his superiors and people who are older than him. But Acnologia would simply just be thinking, older than me? Dude, I've lived lives more than you. As it's at this point that he kind of just nods, telling him, alright, sure. I'm in a kid body, guess I gotta obey kid rules. And then he kind of just walks away. It's at this point that we have a bit of a brief time skip to the team being selected, and since there's no reason to change anything, I say we still keep Sasuke, Sakura, and Naruto as a team. And we have the introductions go down with Kakashi, and everybody's saying their goals. Naruto in this timeline isn't annoying Sakura, and we definitely don't get the whole Naruto-Sasuke kiss scene. And instead, when Naruto says his goals, Sasuke's listening attentively, wondering what exactly makes this guy tick. Why is he a shinobi? Naruto simply tells him that he wants to right the wrongs of his past and he wants to make money and start a new life. And Kakashi hearing that would raise an eyebrow, going, start a new life? With Sasuke questioning it as well, wondering what exactly Naruto's referring to when he says sins of his past. It's at this point that Sakura would go, cutting the tension in half, and then we would cut to the next day with the bell test. This would be one of those things that like maybe would have more coolness to it if it wasn't for the fact that Naruto just completely shows up Kakashi on day one. As soon as the test would begin, Kakashi would be the only one standing there, as before Kakashi could even finish saying the number 3, the bells would appear in Naruto's hand, him dangling the two of them with Kakashi going, what? He's still... But Naruto's after image would fade, as Naruto would have moved so incredibly fast in that moment that Kakashi's brain would take a couple of seconds to even register what even went down. This is when, as Kakashi's staring at the bells, his mind finally catches up with his eyes and he sees that Naruto moves so fast, he literally left an after image and sees like a slight hint of colors go by him, and then the bells are gone. Because of Naruto's short stature, his main attribute that he has at the moment is his insane speed, as Naruto would have these beefy legs that are just incredibly buff with like dense muscle. Naruto would have moved so fast in that moment that he would just shock Kakashi, and Kakashi staring at him would literally just be sitting there speechless, going, how did you? As Sasuke, having witnessed that Naruto literally just disappeared and then appeared, would just be like, what? As Sakura would be like, how does he have the bells? Naruto, holding the both bells out, would say he passes, right? As he says that having both bells means he's the only one graduating and becoming a genin. he would tell Kakashi that he's fine being a one-man team and that he doesn't exactly need anybody. He works best alone. Kakashi would look at him, finally like registering what the heck just happened, as he would tell Naruto that that's not exactly how shinobi history, how shinobi teams work, telling Naruto that he should know that. As Naruto would go on to explain that he does, but he hopes that that show of power would show Kakashi that he's not somebody to be taken lightly. Kakashi would tell Naruto that regardless of taking the bells or not and fulfilling the requirements of the test, that's not all there was to it. Then getting serious for a moment, he would tell Naruto that the true goal of this mission was something else entirely, telling him that unless he can figure that out, he won't be getting past. And though getting the bells is impressive and definitely shows skill level competent to that of a low-level Chunin, he still won't pass unless he can figure that out, as he would tell him to hand both bells back. Naruto in this moment hearing that would raise both eyebrows, as staring at Kakashi, he would grip both bells about to hand them back, as he would look at him and tell him, how about this? If you can land a single blow on me, I'll give them back, and I'll even give up on becoming a ninja. But if you can't land a single blow on me in a minute, well then, I think we're both gonna have to go our separate ways, and you're gonna have to pass me. Capiche? Kakashi would look at Naruto as he would think to himself that Naruto's insane, but he'll play his little game. After all, he needs to get his get back for that aura farm moment Naruto just had. He needs to show him who the Jonin is here and why that's the case. So, lifting up his headband, he would unveil the Sharingan, shocking Sasuke, who had no idea Kakashi would have it, as his mind would be going at 100 miles an hour, wondering why he possesses the ninjutsu, the Kikigenkai of the Uchiha clan. But since he's not this dark, brooding character that he is in the original, he wouldn't really care too much. He'd wonder why later. But he would be jealous of Naruto because he's like, damn, like he's that much stronger than me, which would cause Sasuke's chakra to start like rising to the surface just off of straight up jealousy, right? But ultimately it's still not enough to like bring out the Nine Tails' power. However, this does intrigue Naruto because he can sense like this chakra that he had felt so long ago rising up to the surface. So with that being the case, this is when we would then see Naruto and Kakashi square off once again, the battle commencing as Naruto's movements can now vaguely be tracked by Kakashi, him still not at his max speed and being able to keep up with Kakashi, dodging his every blow effortlessly, as suddenly Kakashi would nearly catch Naruto off guard with the shadow clone technique, Naruto thinking in his mind, this shadow clone technique is tricky, as he would think that it's very, very troublesome, and mid-air about to be kicked by Kakashi and sent crashing into the ground, Naruto suddenly from his back would sprout a wing, as he would change the direction that he's moving in the air last second, dodging the blow and skidding on the ground as he would stab a kunai into it to force himself to stop moving. Suddenly, two hands would leap out from the earth, Kakashi attempting to use the headhunter jutsu, as Naruto would jump up into the air Uzumaki style, and then in the air, another wing would grow as he would shoot up into the air with his eyes glowing and Naruto feeling his power coursing through him, at least a fraction of it. 20% of his full strength is now there, and Naruto, finally knowing that he can feel the mana returning to him, would breathe in, Dragon Slayer Roar! As we would watch an ethereal beam of just compressed energy shoot towards Kakashi like a massive Kamehameha blast. This would annihilate a significant portion of the forest and not hit Kakashi, thanks to Naruto not wanting to kill the man, as he would simply just be sending a message. And after destroying so much of it that it actually blew up a mountain behind him, Kakashi, seeing the firepower that Naruto displayed in that moment, would simply just stare at Naruto as he's just like, he's moving different. He would just kind of like sit there, right? Like, what is Kakashi gonna do? Just imagine, right? Imagine that you are like a pro fighter in real life, right? You're a pro fighter, you go to a boxing gym, right? And you've been training for years. You're at the top of your class, you're the best thing around, and suddenly a kid joins your boxing gym or club or whatever. He's like, 13 years old. He's young. He has scrappy blue hair. He has like this like darker skin complexion. He asks you to spar and literally proceeds to tell you to try to land a hit, and then proceeds to like just destroy you. You can't land a hit, and then he shows you that if he was to land a hit, it would literally rock you. The kid is 13. Like, just imagine how Kakashi is reacting. Like, what is going through the man's head? After this would happen, Kakashi would just kind of stand there as Naruto would walk over towards Kakashi, tapping him in the face, telling him to close his mouth, as he would physically go on to do it for him, and Kakashi just like watches Naruto walk off, as he would think, Minato, your son is even more of a monster than you were. As Sasuke seeing that display would be too stunned to speak. Rage would fill him as he's like, I deserve that power, not him. As Sasuke, actually, I'm going to do a little bit of a retcon. I remember that I said that Sasuke had never tapped into his Nine Tails power, but considering the fact that Sasuke grew up with the Uchihas and Fugaku would have most likely tried to get Sasuke to be strong and train with the Nine Tails, there's just no way that I could realistically say that that is true. So how about instead of saying that, we say that Sasuke can't let's say he can control one tails of the Nine Tails' power at this point, and he was waiting to essentially show off what he could do, thinking of himself as the strongest character in the class and smartest. But then Naruto came in and just pretty much blew all of his expectations out of the water. He realizes that all this time in the back of the class, the kid who never said anything, just was only good at taijutsu and only did the bare minimum, was hundreds of times stronger than he was, and he was the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. Yeah, rage would seep through Sasuke as his eyes would turn into the Kurama type color, with some tomoe beginning to form out of pure just like rage. No, he's not unlocking it in case like I'm confusing you guys, but like his Sharingan would be activated in this moment because of the anger he's feeling, right? Not awakening, but just activated. All right. With that being said, as Naruto would walk off, we would see Sakura just like stunned, as she'd be staring at Sasuke and feel some fear. But now that Sasuke has his Sharingan awakened and the Nine Tails power coursing through him, this is when we would then see Naruto raising an eyebrow at this, as he knows that it's coming from Sasuke, and his suspicions was right. Whatever that monster is that the village hates him so much for is not even inside of him. He would chuckle thinking, and I've been getting the hate all this time, when it's Sasuke who should have been the one. Well, whatever, it's not like I'd wish that upon anybody else, but sure as hell would have been nice if people weren't such jerks to me from the get-go. Oh well, can't say I don't deserve it. It's at this point that he would walk off, and the rest of the story is going to forever be changing because of that. Because like Kakashi just said, he agreed to a deal, and he pretty much made a check that he couldn't cash. Like, he made a bet with the wrong guy, and Naruto's making him pay for it. So now, Kakashi has to go up to Hiruzen and explain, hey, I kind of made a bet that I can't exactly do. So Hiruzen would essentially call Naruto into the office. Kakashi would be sitting there, and he would go on to explain to Naruto that although, yes, he possesses the strength necessary to go off on missions, as Kakashi has told him and he already believes, just from the showing that Naruto showed him when he was literally 4, Hiruzen would go on to explain, that he still needs to go on missions with Kakashi because of his lack of an experience and his age. And Naruto hearing this would just be like, but I won the bet. And Hiruzen just looks at him and says, Naruto, he made a bet that he couldn't exactly live up to. Change the terms of your bet or something, because I just can't give you that. There's no way that the village elders are going to be going for that. So Naruto, though he does feel annoyed at that, he would look at Hiruzen and tell him fine. He'll go on a couple of missions with the team, but that's it. Hiruzen would stare at Naruto and tell him that based off of the performance that he shows off during these missions, that's going to be determining whether he can even allow him to go on some solo missions. Hey, who knows? If he does well enough, maybe he'll just promote him straight to Anbu and he can go on special missions for him. Naruto hearing that would think, does that mean extra pay? And Hiruzen would nod, telling him that if he was his special guard, he'd be living like a king. And then Naruto, hearing that, would just be like, all right, bet. I guess I'll play nice for now, looking to Kakashi and telling him that he can buy him his next month's worth of food. As they would go to the supermarket and Naruto just goes crazy. Kakashi's pockets get emptied from Naruto just buying a bunch of snacks and stuff like that for him to relax. Because hey, he is like Acnologia, but he's trying to start a new life and he's kind of embracing being a teenager once again, which is kind of a weird experience to go through. Especially if you're a man that used to be recognized as the king of the dragons. That said, a couple of days would pass, and after going through a bunch of D rank and E rank missions, Naruto would eventually finally get the chance to go out of the village, hating every second of those weak and demeaning missions. But Naruto was doing it because at the end of the day, as much as Naruto hated to admit it, he did kind of see the end of the tunnel and knew that once this was all over, he was finally going to go and live the life that he had always wanted, a life of luxury. So with that being the case, Naruto would just sit through them, and as soon as Naruto would see Tazuna walk inside of the room after Hiruzen assigned them the bridge builder mission, Naruto would be about to jump for joy practically, knowing that these are just a few steps to get to there. Naruto having changed after, living here in this world for many years and finally being able to be a kid, not living in fear of a dragon ripping him to shreds or burning his village down like he did before. Naruto can now literally just experience life as a normal person. And you know what? This would actually lead Naruto to kind of feeling bad for what had happened in his previous life. I bet a bunch of normal people probably felt like this, and he would just pull up and just, destroy stuff. So yeah, that sucked. But anyways, knowing that he's here to just right his wrongs, Naruto would essentially decide that he's gonna just be doing everything he can to help the people that at least don't bother him and stay out of people's way. Naruto's not gonna become some goody-goody, but Naruto is gonna be out of the way and do his part in society. Well, at least a bit. Anyways though, with that being the case, they would begin to make their way towards the land of the waves, and 30 minutes into their mission, Naruto can sense two people who are up to no good. So, as soon as the genjutsu that the demon brothers would finally be broken, Naruto finally catching a glimpse of what the two of them looked like, Naruto seeing them come towards them with their little Wolverine claws, shuriken and demon wind blades, Naruto would rush towards the two of them as piercing both claws straight into their chests. Naruto would slam the two of them into the ground and threaten to pierce it deeper, because right now they weren't going through, life-ending damage. However, it was damage that caused an intense amount of pain. And Naruto would simply tell them that they have 5 seconds to start singing like little birds, or he was gonna dig it in so deep that they were gonna wish that they were already dead. And so the two of them would just immediately start talking. They're like, oh, wait, we'll tell you everything. So after discovering that this mission was not what it seemed, and there was a bit more to it, Naruto would smirk, removing his claws from their chest, as smiling he would think, guess I hit the jackpot. If I can successfully complete this mission, then the old man's gonna have to see that I am an incredible shinobi. So he would look to Kakashi as he would nod, telling him that they're gonna continue. Kakashi would sigh, going he knew he would say that, but since the two of them are here, he knows that they'll be fine. Plus, Sasuke's incredibly impressive as well, so with all of them on their team, they should be fine. Naruto hearing this would stare at Sasuke thinking, of course he's impressive. Anybody from this world would think highly of him, especially with that damn fox sealed in him. As he would continue walking forth with a bit of an aggro sense to him, just because, he doesn't exactly like thinking about that damned fox. It just, I don't know, he just hates what he sees, because every time that in his memory he remembers that vague image of the Nine-Tails claw piercing through his parents, Naruto remembers what it was like to be a helpless villager as the dragons arrived, burning everything down, just like the Nine-Tails had done to the village, with their claws piercing through people, ripping them to shreds, and just literally just eating them without any remorse. Naruto views the tailed beasts almost in the similar light that he does dragons, so he hates them, but he doesn't exactly want to go back to that I'm gonna eliminate every tailed beast type mentality. So for now, he's just kind of letting everything slide. And as Naruto would be walking in front of the team, essentially high on guard, waiting for his next opponent to be able to just absolutely destroy, Sasuke would be staring at him as he's just like jealous, finally going up to him and asking Naruto how exactly he got so strong. Kakashi would be paying attention attentively, as a matter of fact everybody would, and Naruto would simply go on to tell him that he trained hard. That's all there is to it. There's no secret jutsu or Kekkei Genkai. In fact, he doesn't even have chakra, as he well knows. He just trained his body and worked on his mana. And Sasuke, hearing that, would say, "What is that?" As Naruto would look at him and tell him that everybody is a vessel, and much like they have chakra, he possesses a different element, something that's all around the world, actually in abundance, thanks to the fact that none of them can actually be proper vessels for this. Think of it as an invisible energy that they'll never understand how it feels, just like he'll never understand how chakra feels, but their functions are a bit similar. By wielding this energy, he's able to essentially make his body use these incredible attacks and transform his body and use Dragon Slayer magic. So Sasuke, hearing this, would look at Naruto and realize that, okay, that's where his power comes from. He doesn't have chakra, but he has something else that is just crazy. And then Sasuke would ask him if he can obtain it, as Naruto would look at him, then sense that he has 0 mana or 0 chance of getting it, and just bluntly saying that there's no way that he's gonna get it. Walking forth, as Sasuke would grit his teeth, telling him that how does he know that? Naruto telling him that he needs to shut up already and he's pissing him off. As Sasuke would say something again, and then Naruto would give this man a death glare, as Sasuke's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'ma shut up." It's at this point that suddenly Naruto would see the mist begin to thicken, as a smirk would appear on his face, and Kakashi, taking note of this, that Naruto seems to blatantly be enjoying this, he would think, yeah, something's coming. It's at this point that a gigantic blade would come flying towards their direction, completely made out of iron, mind you. As the blade would soar towards Naruto, about to rip his head off his body, Naruto would literally munch on this blade, consuming it as though he was an Iron Dragon Slayer, as Naruto would proceed to turn towards the direction of Zabuza, telling him that that's a tasty meal. He's just helped him get stronger. Zabuza, being stunned at this, would not even be able to react before Naruto, in his mind, would essentially stretch out his claws using Dragon Slayer Talon on him, as he would send this man into the air, followed by a concentrated Dragon Slayer breath attack. This would annihilate him and clear the clouds in the sky, with Haku watching on by in complete and utter shock. Speed blitzing in with nothing but rage fueling him, he would try to use the demonic ice crystal mirror jutsu on him. However, before he would even realize it, half of his arm and chest is missing. Naruto had transformed his arm into that of a dragon and just completely tore that part of his body off before Haku could even weave the hand sign with his arm. So he would hit the ground as blood would pour on it, and Naruto would simply lick the blood as memories would come flooding back on how he used to literally bathe in the blood of dragons. He would turn towards the team, seeing the looks on the faces of Sakura and Sasuke, as he would tell the two of them that this is the shinobi life, and if they're gonna sign up for this with these weak stomachs, well, they might as well just give up now and leave hunting to the real men. He would then walk away as Kakashi would be stunned. He was even colder than he was back when he was in the Anbu, and he killed people in very gruesome ways without thinking about things. But he wasn't making fun of it. He was just doing what he had to, distracting himself. Naruto, he's almost doing this as though he's killed thousands of times. He's not batting an eye or making it something special. He just did his job and enjoyed it, actually. So Kakashi, staring at Naruto, would wonder what's the deal with him, but he's gonna have to be finding that out later. And so this is when we would cut to the team making their way to Gato, as the entirety of the Land of the Waves mission would kind of have the entire plot removed. We don't have the Naruto Haku meeting section, we don't even have a second battle on the bridge, and when Gato and his men arrive, are you kidding me? Naruto's gonna be there and probably just dragon breath them to Kingdom Come. They are dead, brothers. So we're able to just straight up skip into the next arc, which essentially comprises of the Chunin exams, when Sasuke, I was going to say Naruto, but Sasuke is essentially spending all of his time training, trying to catch up to Naruto alongside Itachi, who at this point in the story has already been shown to be sick and is already trying to get the help that he needs. But their family are coming to find out that Itachi, his future as a shinobi is not exactly the best for him, because the more that he participates in shinobi-like activity, the worse his conditions get. So they're trying to get all the doctors to help him and all that stuff. And funny enough, if there's one person who could actually heal him, it's probably Tsunade. Maybe Naruto. Does Acnologia have healing magic? I think he does, but I don't know. Regardless though, probably Tsunade. Let's go with the more real answer. Would be the only one that could heal him if she was in the village. So, that's probably not going to happen, at least not for a while. So with that being the case, Sasuke's just kind of training with Itachi and Fugaku. Sakura's, she's doing her own thing. And Naruto would be kind of distracted doing his own training and working on trying to get back to turning his body into dragons, understanding that at the current moment, he still can't tap into that form. However, he can use a partial transformation form. But ladies and gentlemen, this is where I'm going to cut the recording off for tonight. I'm still recovering from surgery as of this moment of this recording, and it's kind of starting to bother me a little bit in the area that I got my surgery done as I'm sitting here. So I'm going to take a break and probably record the rest of this tomorrow. So if you guys have made it this far into the video, then please do me a favor, like it up, and stay tuned for my next videos and stuff like that. But yeah, show some support for this video, and I will catch you guys in just a second. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm pretty sure that I had last left off with the Chunin exam, so let's continue with that, starting with the Rock Lee and Sasuke scene. In this timeline, when Rock Lee would go up to the team, he would obviously challenge Sasuke just due to his Rookie of the Year status, and Sasuke seeing this challenge, feeling, a bit annoyed at everything that's been going on lately with how things have been playing out, he would accept the challenge from Rock Lee, telling him that this is not what he wants, but he'll humor him. And so, the two of them would face off against each other, with Naruto watching on, wondering who exactly is gonna win, sensing that there's a lot of power coming from this Rock Lee fellow, and knowing that he is definitely not someone to take lightly. Well, at least not for Sasuke. Watching the battle, he would watch as Rock Lee would start off with a relief hurricane, throwing a thunderous kick towards the direction of Sasuke, which would rock him. He would narrowly be able to dodge it, however his arm that would have been used in order to parry the blow would actually be sent back, as Sasuke looking up would then see that Sasuke was gone, now behind him. Sasuke in this moment activating his Sharingan to track Lee's movements would watch on as he would throw a punch followed by a spinning back kick. And him watching this, he would be able to barely avoid the two of them, thanks to the fact that he had been training with Itachi and Fugaku all these years. This would lead Sasuke to realizing that he isn't exactly getting overwhelmed by Lee, but they're on equal footing. This would piss Sasuke off because the entire fight would essentially consist of a stalemate due to the fact that Sasuke had agreed to a no ninjutsu condition. So that meant that he wasn't even able to access the stuff that he was best at, which was a bit funny, but regardless, once Might Guy would arrive and see their battle, he would probably stop the match, congratulating Sasuke for keeping up so well, and tell Lee that he shouldn't use all of his energies on a practice match. Lee would apologize to Sasuke for making him waste his energy, and then the two of them would walk off, followed by the written exam. That during the entire time that would be happening, Sasuke would be pissed off because in this timeline, Lee had shown himself to be on equal footings with Sasuke, at least on a taijutsu level, and that heavily bothered him because the main thing that he had been training all his life was controlling the nine tails, so his chakra control was better, as well as also ninjutsu attacks, thanks to the stuff that Fugaku would have taught him. So Sasuke would be armed with a plethora of flame style attacks, as well as, learn how to control the Sharingan a lot better. He actually has access to the two Tomoe state in each eye, which is pretty impressive for his age. Even Itachi has shown him praises for that because at his age, he would have been at the same level considering the change in the timeline, where in this timeline, the dude never ended up having to watch Shisui die before his eyes, which means that he probably wouldn't be having access to the Mangekyo Sharingan. So with that being said, as the team would advance during the written section, because I'm sure none of you guys care about that, we are going to be jumping directly into the Forest of Death, specifically the actual battle between Naruto and Orochimaru. As the team would be running through the forest after Naruto would have suggested they probably make their way towards the center and just ambush whatever team is there, Sakura hearing that would say, "What? You want us to go ambush a team that's strong enough to collect the scroll on their own? Isn't that a bit foolish? What if they're able to beat us or they're stronger than us?" And Naruto would smile, saying that if they're able to beat them, then they have no right to be in the Chunin exams. And Sasuke, feeling the same way, that this was a good way to challenge himself, would have essentially agreed to his idea, as it would still create that little code thing which Sasuke knew that Naruto wasn't going to pay attention to or care about. This is when the team would make their way there, and the three of them, leaping from tree to tree, would continue on their path until suddenly Naruto would stop leaping and the two of them would turn back to see Naruto, who would have a weird smile. He would start sniffing the air using his Dragon Slayer senses to know that somebody was approaching. This is when suddenly a woman with a strange straw hat would appear, and him staring at her would say, "You can go ahead and drop the disguise. You don't smell like a woman." It's at this point that Orochimaru would smirk, as the mask would be ripped off and he would reveal himself to be Orochimaru, one of the legendary Sannin. Naruto, seeing this, would have the biggest smile on his face, thinking that he just hit the jackpot. Not only is defeating one of the legendary Sannin going to possibly be somewhat of a challenge for him, but this is also going to give him more leverage with Hiruzen, explaining that if he was able to handle somebody on the likes of Kage level, he should definitely be allowed to be his own team member and not have to rely on anybody else. And so Naruto would speed blitz towards Orochimaru as the two of them would face off, and Orochimaru's mouth would open as countless snakes would go rushing towards Naruto. Naruto, seeing this, would simply smile as the snakes rushing towards him would go to bite down on his skin, poisoning him. However, Naruto would have dragon-like scales covering his skin as he would go into his Dragon Force mode, and Naruto, then staring back at Orochimaru, would proceed to leap from one tree to another in a zigzag-like pattern as he would lunge towards Orochimaru, who, knowing he was going to substitute thanks to, the combat experience that he had with Kakashi, would have used that to get a generalization of how fast Orochimaru can move, himself not even using 50% yet, with Orochimaru dodging out of the way and Naruto amping up to his full speed almost immediately, ricocheting off of another tree and leaping towards the direction of Orochimaru, as he would use a dragon slaying talon to slam it into Orochimaru's head, who would hit the ground, turning to mush. Orochimaru appearing behind him with the Kusanagi blade, about to strike at him, sensing that most normal attacks wouldn't do damage. However, Naruto, turning back around, would have a dragon claws. He would catch the blade and be in a standstill with Orochimaru. At point blank range, Naruto would proceed to use a dragon's breath attack as he would decimate that clone of Orochimaru, as Naruto would watch on with Orochimaru trying to use tricky tactics to catch him off guard and coming in flying towards him from behind as well as from underneath, using a strange jutsu that allowed him to go through solid objects to grab onto Naruto. However, the moment that this attack would actually latch onto Naruto, we would see Naruto smiling internally, knowing that Orochimaru would most likely think that this was his chance to strike. And so, the moment Orochimaru would get close to his distance, Naruto would proceed to use his dragon slaying breath to annihilate such a massive section of the forest in a radius like in a circle, I guess you could say, so that Orochimaru would have no areas to hide. They're going to be fighting on straight up just grass. So with that being the case and Orochimaru having literally nothing to substitute with anymore, Naruto would proceed to speed blitz towards him, wings appearing on his back as he would fly towards Orochimaru and slam a Dragon Slayer's iron fist point blank into Orochimaru's stomach. This would pierce right through him as Orochimaru's real body would stare at Naruto, blood seeping out of his mouth as he would fall backwards onto the ground, with a small little piece of Orochimaru beginning to slither away, Naruto noticing this and going over towards it and literally crushing it with his foot, having entirely killed Orochimaru in this moment. There was no substitution and nothing else. For this specific timeline, we're going to be saying that Orochimaru is gone. There's not going to be any resurrection thanks to his curse mark, and that's it. Orochimaru's dead, meaning Sasuke's not even going to be getting the curse mark in this timeline. and we're able to just jump directly into the 1v1 battles that take place after this. Because say that Orochimaru's little sound getting henchmen would arrive, what do you think's gonna happen to them when he proceeded to just slaughter their boss like it was just another Wednesday? Yeah, it's gonna be bad. So with that being the case, Naruto would find himself in the arena with Kiba and staring towards him, cracking his knuckles and just giving him an intimidation glare. He would watch on as the practice would say Hajime. However, before Naruto could even make a move, Kiba would raise his hand and say, I give up, shocking everybody, with Naruto smiling and just pretty much like letting out into a laughter, saying that Kiba's gotten so much smarter since the last time he met him, with Kiba telling him that he didn't exactly feel like dying today. He'd say, come on Akamaru, we just got unlucky this year. As Naruto would watch on the rest of the matches, and he would be thinking to himself that it was kind of boring, but what else did he expect, considering the fact that he was now fighting a bunch of 13-year-olds instead of a legendary Sannin, a fight that actually got his blood pumping. He would watch on as he would see Hinata get absolutely clobbered by Neji, who in this timeline he felt absolutely no emotions. There was no scene of him saying, Neji you bastard, or anything like that, because in this timeline Naruto fights in a very brutal fighting style, and he understands that this world is pretty much just kill or be killed. Plus, there was the fact that Hinata doesn't have the same attraction she would have towards Naruto, because in this timeline there's no way that Naruto would have that one scene that we get in the last where he saves Hinata, leading her to have a crush on him. So yeah, Hinata doesn't even like Naruto in this timeline, and she'd probably just have an eye for, I don't know, maybe Sasuke? I don't know if that's like the kind of person Hinata is, so she might not have one for Sasuke. Maybe somebody else in the class, maybe Kiba, her and Shino, I don't know. Regardless of how you want to look at things, she's just definitely not getting with Naruto in this timeline. That said though, with this being the case, we're able to jump cut to a scene where after everything would all be said and done, Naruto would appear in Hiruzen's office, as he would go on to explain to him that he's been meaning to talk to him about something. Hiruzen would ask Naruto what exactly that's about, and he would go on to explain that he found the legendary Sannin member Orochimaru snooping around in the Chunin exams. Hiruzen hearing this would ask if he's actually serious, and Naruto, after describing what Orochimaru looks like to him and telling him what jutsus he tried to use and the tactics he implemented against him in the fight, Hiruzen would be stunned, realizing that Naruto is telling the truth. He would go on to tell him that he killed the guy, so he's not going to have to worry about him anymore. And Hiruzen hearing this would truly be stunned, thinking, I knew Naruto was strong, but damn, he killed a legendary Sannin. It's at this point that Naruto would ask him exactly what's going to happen after this, and Hiruzen would pretty much just hit his pipe as he would say, well Naruto, you're strong enough to defeat a Sannin and you've been on a couple of missions. How's about this? After the Chunin exams would be over, after you win, you can complete 5 more missions on the team and you can become your own man. Naruto hearing that would smile, as he would pretty much bow to Hiruzen, telling him thank you, and walk out. As Hiruzen would go on to explain to Naruto that he's come a long way and he's proud, telling him that he'll keep this seat warm for him if in case he ever wants to become the Hokage. But Naruto turning back towards Hiruzen would tell him that that's not exactly on his agenda. As we would see Hiruzen smiling and just thinking, Minato, your son is a handful. As we would then jump cut to the actual battle that Naruto's having after the 1 month time skip, seeing as this entire time is pretty much just going to be spent with him training and trying to recoup his previous power. Pretty much the same thing that's been happening this entire time. So as Naruto would step into the ring with Neji, Naruto would look at him, telling him that he's going to give him one chance to step out of this battle and not be absolutely embarrassed. However, Neji, looking to Naruto, would smirk confidently, telling him that fate has already declared him to be the winner. As the battle would begin, Neji would step into range, smirking, about to use his 64 trigram palm strike. However, before Neji could even get the chance to attempt it, he would find himself on the ground in an unbelievable amount of pain, as his eyes would be like just barely registering the speed that Naruto would have used. It was a flash, but he watched it almost in slow motion. Naruto had speed blitzed towards him with his raggedy cloak on, as he would have slashed at Neji's chest, leaving 3 claw mark incisions on him, and him bleeding out on the ground would then look up to see Naruto smirking, him swearing that he could have seen Naruto's eyes glow red in that moment, as he would think to himself that Naruto truly is a demon. Naruto in this moment would simply walk away with the proctor declaring Naruto the winner and him looking up at the crowd, who would be booing him, being like, boo, boo, Naruto, like, we hate you, Naruto, you're a demon, but Naruto doesn't care. He would simply walk over towards his place, waiting for Sasuke's battle to begin, and once it does, it kind of just plays out like it does in the original, with Gaara and Sasuke eventually having the whole ultimate defense versus ultimate like piercing weapon stuff happening, and Gaara attempting to leave the village. This is when Gaara, having exited the premises, this would pretty much automatically give Sasuke the win, as the shinobi that were there, including a bunch of Uchiha members, would place Gaara under a genjutsu, knocking the dude out and then tightening the seal that they have placed on Gaara. After everything would be all said and done, the final match would consist of Sasuke versus Naruto, and with the two of them stepping into the ring, we would see Sasuke, you know, a little bit worried to face off against Naruto, but he'd be kind of like stealing his nerves. It's kind of like when you know you're fighting somebody a lot stronger than you, but you're like, nah, I got a chance, he bleeds too. So Sasuke stepping into the ring would activate his Sharingan after all that training he would have done with Itachi and Fugaku, because in this timeline he obviously doesn't train with Kakashi because, you know, there's more Uchihas out there. So the battle would begin, and when Sasuke would rush towards the direction of Naruto, he would start everything off by shooting a massive flame style jutsu towards him, which Naruto, using a breath attack, mind you, that doesn't consist of an ethereal blast, literally his actual breath, would proceed to shoot air so like pressurized that the flames don't even make it to him. He would stop the attack in its tracks. Sasuke watching on in shock, just like, what? As he would attempt to go in with the taijutsu strikes, but Naruto would be making an utter fool of him, acting as though he was a beginner and he was like the trainer or something like that, making him look absolutely foolish. Sasuke feeling embarrassed from, you know, his performance and how everything's happening in the moment, we would then jump cut to Sasuke looking up at Itachi and Fugaku and just be like, damn, like I'm making myself look like an idiot in front of them, would proceed to let the rage seep through. He would give in to the power of the Nine Tails as he would tap into the Two Tails state, and everybody watching on would be shocked, going, what? He's the Nine Tails? As Naruto would smirk, thinking to himself that finally people are gonna recognize that he's not the demon they made him out to be. At least not a damn fox. As in this moment, Sasuke would rush towards the direction of Naruto with newfound speed, similar to that Orochimaru would have used in the forest, as Naruto would go right by him, kind of like treating him like a bull. You know when people do the whole ole, that's exactly what Naruto would have done to Sasuke. And Sasuke seeing this would get so pissed off, creating a Vermilion Rasengan, but an Onyx Chidori, as he would proceed to rush towards the direction of Naruto, trying to like pretty much kill the guy. However, Naruto would grab him by the wrist, holding him up as he would tell Sasuke to play nice already, as he would slam him into the ground before then throwing him up and shoving a knee into him, followed by a Dragon Slayer Talon which hits him in the back of the head, just instantly giving the guy a rattle concussion and shaking his brain in his head. Sasuke falling onto the ground unconscious would just be completely out of it, and this is when Naruto would raise his hand into the air, declaring himself to be the strongest in the village. After this would happen, everybody watching on would be stunned, with Fugaku's arms being crossed in this moment and understanding that, yeah, Sasuke has a long way to go if he's going to catch up to him, and even he would think that Naruto would give him troubles. He would think that it was just bad luck that his son had to go up against such a prodigy, and so we would then have the entirety of the thing happening, with the very next arc actually being the coronation of the next Kage, Fugaku Uchiha. After showing that he was a very loyal member of society for all of these extra years, and Hiruzen getting up there in age and not exactly wanting to continue being Hokage anymore, he would decide that regardless of what the village elders say, Fugaku would make an incredible candidate for Kage, and so he would be declared the next Hokage of the village, with Naruto being given Jonin status during the Chunin exams after showing just how powerful he is. With that being the case, Team 7 would remain a thing, and they would eventually end up going on 3 to 5 extra missions as a group together, without the Sasuke retrieval arc or even a Tsunade retrieval arc. So we're able to just jump straight into the time skip, and with that being the case, We jump cut to Naruto living in a massive mansion on the outskirts of the village, with an older looking Naruto inside of a hot spring bath that he had pretty much made for himself by using his like breath attack to shoot it into the actual earth itself, causing like magma to rise to the surface, and him essentially bringing loads and loads of water buckets to just fill up the area and kind of just make it look super cool. And Naruto did low-key just kind of like reawaken an unactive volcano, but in his eyes he's like, bro, like what is that thing gonna do? It's just gonna give us cool little springs for the entire village, which it actually ended up doing. And if that thing ever threatens to go off, Naruto would just annihilate the thing, like genuinely. When Naruto was in the process of creating that thing, his own little home project, Fugaku definitely had a problem or two with it, but after Naruto would have essentially showed him that he could just annihilate the volcano whenever he saw fit, Fugaku would just be like, all right, I guess you could have that, little bro. As Naruto would essentially have become over these last couple of years like the greatest like single-handed shinobi. The dude has a run on site order, and if any other villages ever run into him, they're all pretty much told to like just avoid him. Because over the course of this time skip, Naruto definitely would have regained his ability to turn into a full-on dragon. So when Naruto makes his way to missions, the dude doesn't walk, he flies. And when he gets there and it's like elimination missions, which is the thing that Naruto's best at, he just annihilates people, like genuinely. There would be an annihilation order on countless like rogue shinobi, and Naruto over these last couple of years would have just annihilated the lot of them. Normally villages would end up taking their own rogue shinobi into their old hands, but they've started literally just giving the task to Naruto, who has a 100% success rate. Girl, boy, child, grandma, dude does not care. If you're needed to be dead, you're gonna die. And if Naruto sets his sight on you, well, you know, you're kinda cooked. So with that being the case, Naruto would be sitting in his home, kind of taking a relaxing hot spring bath with a couple of kunoichi there, as Naruto would then have a crow come flying towards him, as it would hand him a letter telling him that his mission is to take out two members of the Akatsuki, Deidara and Sasori, two members who are responsible for the kidnapping of the third Kazekage, Gaara. Naruto seeing this would get out of the tub, as his entire body would be shown like the bro was fully naked, and he just looks like a statue, like he was carved, every single muscle fiber, like bro, the dude looks majestic. And with his long hair flowing in the wind, Naruto would proceed to essentially crack his neck before leaping up into the air, transforming into a dragon and just flying towards the direction of the Kazekage's village. Once arriving there, Naruto would be debriefed on the direction that they went towards, as Naruto would just fly towards it, wondering where exactly he would hide if he was a cowering Akatsuki member trying to drain the life out of a Jinchuriki. Naruto, then seeing a couple of mountains, would proceed to shoot a couple of warning shots towards them, not annihilating them, but like shaking the mountains. This would essentially be done just to kind of aura farm, because Naruto's sense of smell already allowed him to know where the nearest humans were at, and sensing a grand total of 3, Naruto would fly towards them with Deidara and Sasori practically expecting him. Terrified of his arrival, but not like too much pride to show it, the two of them would watch on as Naruto would walk in with the aura of Acnologia, his cloak fluttering in the wind. As he would stare at the body of Gaara unconscious on the ground, most likely dead, he would go and tell him that he's going to be needing to take that from them, as the two of them would stand in front of him, explaining that there's no way he's going to do that. A bunch of microscopic bombs that Deidara would have placed right before Naruto got there would go off, as Naruto would be standing there, his clothes having been the only thing to have taken damage, as he would smirk, going on to tell him that he's going to have fun. This is when suddenly Sasori's poisons would go flying towards the skin, trying to penetrate and pierce through him and like pretty much poison the guy, but it also wouldn't work. It does no damage. So Sasori would go on to essentially use a poison that is in the air, which Naruto would breathe in, but after doing so, his dragon slaying lungs would fight the effects, and he would essentially tank it completely. As he would walk on towards him, Sasori shocked, saying that he shouldn't be able to stand. The poison that he just injected into his system should cause all of his muscles to start spazzing out and contracting, leading him to pretty much start bleeding out internally, because his muscles would have essentially like destroyed his internal organs. But Naruto, just walking towards them, his eyes glowing red, he would tell them that he's here to purge them. As Deidara and Sasori would watch on, attempting in a last futile attempt to try to preserve their lives, but it's too late. Naruto wanted them dead, and they are now dead. They'd be on the ground with the blood of pool just like leaving them, as Naruto would grab Gaara, throwing him over his shoulder, before then tossing him into the air and turning into a dragon, grabbing him with his talons and dropping him into the Kazekage village. Once there, Gaara would be resurrected by Lady Chiho, since they kind of need their Hokage, and after Naruto would be done with this mission, he would fly back, receiving his reward, as he would thank Fugaku for that, and Fugaku would tell Naruto that he's been doing a great job on his missions. This is when Sasuke would enter the room, having returned from his own mission, and he would kind of look at Naruto, just kind of like giving him like a greeting of just like, what's up, dude, as Naruto and Sasuke over the last couple of years would have definitely got like an understanding. Sasuke's accepted the fact that, okay, yeah, I have the Nine Tails, I have everything I could possibly need, and I still don't stack up to Naruto. They've definitely taken some time to train together, and like Sasuke's tried challenging Naruto, but every time, man, it just goes bad. I mean, we're talking about a fox versus a dragon here. There's no contest. At one point, Sasuke tried using a tail beast bomb on Naruto, but Naruto proceeded to shoot a breath attack towards him, this time an ethereal one, and just absolutely destroy Sasuke's like Kurama avatar thing that he had created, having mastered the power of the Nine Tails actually during this time skip. So now with us having a mastered Sasuke like Kurama character and Naruto in the village, who is already just way beyond the levels of this verse pretty much, we would essentially see the final mission of the whole story finally coming together, with Naruto receiving word that Asuma had actually just died, facing off against Hidan and Kakuzu. Naruto getting debriefed on this and told that he needs to handle the rest of the Akatsuki would do just that, flying to Kakuzu and Hidan's location and removing them from existence, after of course finding out the whereabouts of the leader of the Akatsuki, which would lead Naruto to fly over the village hidden in the rain. As Naruto seeing this entire like populated place, industrialized and everything, Naruto thinking to himself that this is more trouble than it's worth, would proceed to essentially just breathe in and decide that he was just going to destroy this entire village. Boom! His breath attack would hit something, but Naruto flying in the air would question what the heck that was, as his attack would have been stopped by some invisible force, a Shinra Tensei. Naruto watching on would see 6 paths of pain, as well as a woman flying with wings on her back, as he would look at them and question what the heck is going on. This is when Naruto, turning into his humanoid form with wings on his own back, would stare toward them. By the way, this is definitely just a Naruto exclusive ability, because I know does he possess the ability to do this in canon? I'm not sure. So we're going to say this is a Naruto only ability that I just couldn't help but doing. And Naruto would essentially talk to Pain, asking him if he's the leader of the Akatsuki, or they are. He would go on to tell him that he is, as he would drag Naruto towards him, but Naruto in this moment would actually resist the effects, telling him that if he's intending to pull him towards him, he's going to be needing way more power than that. Suddenly, one of the paths of pain would go rushing towards him, as Naruto, tracking its movements as though it was moving in slow motion, would tear that thing apart. Watching on as another path would shoot rockets and missiles towards his direction, as an invisible chameleon would actually wrap its tongue around Naruto, or at least attempt to, considering the fact that Naruto's sense of smell was so keen, he knew that thing was there, and would have shot a breath attack towards it, just annihilating it instantly, as he would proceed to walk straight through the path of pain's gravitational force, just making his way towards him and ripping his head from his body. He would annihilate each and every single individual path of pain slowly and meticulously, as he would finally turn his attentions towards Konan, who would try to fly away, but Naruto, being so much faster than her, would ask her where exactly the real one was. And her like having like this weird expression of like, what? How does he know? That would confirm Naruto's suspicions, him knowing that those weren't the real one. He would fly towards the direction of a distant human being, something that smelled like a rotting corpse. And when Naruto entered the room, he would see Pain in his true body. Nagato would be standing there, as Naruto would walk towards him, telling him if he has any last words. He would simply tell him that he was searching for peace, and hopefully this world will still achieve that one day without him. As Naruto, hearing that, would think that that's exactly what he was searching for so long ago. But now, he decided to just stay in his own lane, he would shoot a breath attack towards him, just annihilating Nagato and every single piece of tech, as Konan would have attempted to blow up paper bombs to like stop Naruto, but Naruto simply walks right past her, telling her that if she wasn't so pretty, he would annihilate her where she stands, as he would transform back into that of a dragon and fly off, with this putting a massive hindrance on Obito's plans. No Rinnegan means no Edo Tensei statue. No Edo Tensei statue means that there's no way that the dude's gonna be able to eventually possess the Ten Tails or any of that stuff. And with no Orochimaru in the picture and Kabuto being, well, pretty much the only thing around, this means that we probably could expect to get Madara returning to the real world, maybe, potentially, but what's Madara gonna do to Naruto? I mean, seriously, it's just, I mean, yeah, I'm sorry, Madara is not beating Acnologia. I just personally don't think he would. I genuinely just don't think he could beat Acnologia. So with that being the case, Obito would do two options: either bide his time or seek revenge for Naruto. And I think that that's probably the thing that he's going to go for. However, he knows that if he was to try to go after Naruto, things are probably not going to be boding too well for him. But since this is a what if, I might as well cover the battle. Obito would eventually end up finding some different source of power, which in this timeline, I'm going to be saying that consists of the Kitsuryugan, because it's another, dojutsu that is extremely powerful. The one that allows him to essentially manipulate blood and stuff after killing the only Chihoki clan member that was left. And using that power up and maybe a bunch more jutsu, would attempt to go in and actually kill Naruto in his own home, by the way. So as Naruto's literally chilling, suddenly Obito, flying in using his abilities, would go rushing towards Naruto, to which Naruto would respond by waving his hand, after his body had turned 18 years old, since Obito had waited a bit longer to get more powerful. Naruto now gained access to his full strength that he had prior to this, and now with the simple wave of his hand was able to send Obito flying back. He didn't even have to touch the guy, and there was nothing Obito could do in that moment because the attack was so fast that Obito's Kamui couldn't even register it. So with Obito on the ground now blown back with nothing but a hand wave from Naruto, Obito would look at Naruto, questioning what in the world the source of his strength is. Naruto would simply smirk, going on to tell him that if he wishes to die, he could stay here and keep trying to fight him. But if he turns back around, put his tail between his legs and leaves and never comes back, then he'll consider sparing him. Obito in this moment would go into the Kamui dimension, but Naruto would simply smirk, as he would proceed to shoot a beam of concentrated energy so unbelievably dense and powerful that it would shatter through space-time ninjutsu itself and destroy all of Obito's remains in the Kamui dimension. Obito would be completely fried, as Naruto would go back to take a soak, and he would simply think to himself that that might have been a challenge when he was 13. Naruto would close his eyes, as that, ladies and gentlemen, is where What If Naruto Was Acnologia's reincarnation is gonna be ending. Azuma, bro, I hope you enjoyed my rendition of this. I know it wasn't perfect, but it was a ton of fun to actually cover Naruto as Acnologia, just being an absolute aura farmer of a character. And for those of you guys that are watching and made it to the end of the video, please leave a like. You were entertained for at least an hour, so it'd mean a lot. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I love each and every single one of you guys. It has been your boy Xehther, and I am out. Peace.